Nobody ever got rich off of a 401k. Nobody ever got rich off of a SEP or an IRA. People don't realize that 10% is all it takes to buy a business. $800,000 or $900,000. You can buy an $8 million business with that. That'll pay you $2.5, $2.7 million a year.
I don't care how much money you're making. It's a lot. Cost me a marriage. All right, Chad. Appreciate you coming on the show today, brother.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Not too bad of a trek.
No, quick flight.
That LA traffic, though.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it out here. I think I went 11 miles in 35 minutes.
Where'd you fly into, LAX or Burbank?
LAX.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next time, Burbank.
Oh, yeah?
The terminal's about this big. It is one terminal and pretty easy.
Yeah.
Because you're going against the grain coming out of there. From LAX coming this way, you're in the shit.
Man, my recommendation is stay out of California.
With all the, you do mergers and acquisitions. Do you really want to deal with California landscape?
Hell no.
Do you tend to actually stay out of that?
Yeah, we don't do that many deals in California. We do. I mean, we did 2 or 3 last year, but
nothing.
We try to stay away from it. The taxes are so heavy here on business owners, and it's just a mess. So we're very picky about how much we work in California.
I can't blame you.
Yeah,
can't blame you at all. So you had a rough childhood, rough go, built a business really big, and then had another crushing experience, and then you're at where you're at today. I want to kind of go through how we got through all of that series of life.
Well, yeah, I had a real rough go as a kid, but it shaped me, made me who I am. I see a lot of these guys out here running business, trying to run business, trying to do life, and they're missing something, and they're missing that grit. They're missing what it takes to be against all odds and still make it happen. They're wanting to know how to do it. Like, oh no, something scary's happened. How do I make this easy?
No, and
it's like, no, man, this isn't easy.
You and I had some similar childhoods, and you go through that, everything else is a fucking cakewalk.
Absolutely, man. Bring it. Just bring it on.
You had a bad day in business, bro. Chalk it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You and I aren't still supposed to be sitting here.
Absolutely.
That's the way the deck was built for us.
Absolutely.
And I don't really talk about it, and we don't have to dive into yours. It's just people don't understand. Business really isn't that hard.
Business is hard if you make it hard. Anything's hard if you make it hard, right? So, my childhood, where I come from, what built me, the bricks that built me, what happened to me, it all set me up to be a gladiator out here. And
well, you kind of look like a gladiator, so that helps.
Yeah, people don't even know that I'm in my business. They're like, what are you, a wrestler? Are you a fighter? I'm like, no, man, I do mergers and acquisitions. I'm an author. I write books, but I don't look like it.
No. Look like a tough, scary guy.
Yeah, I got a good heart, though, so never judge a book by its cover, I guess.
Exactly. So had the rough childhood, went through school. What made you want to start the mortgage company and all that fun stuff around it?
Well, yeah. So when I was 19 years old, I built a small company. This is where I learned everything that I know, really. It started at 19 years old. I built a company it was just a piece of shit company, but it made money. I mean, I was making more than my teachers.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, I was making $50,000 a year when I was 18 years old. And I got on a work program. I left school early, went and worked. And a guy approached me and said, hey, what are you going to do, Chad? He knew me for a long time. What are you going to do? I said, I think I want to fly planes. He said, well, how are you going to do that? I said, I have no idea. So he said, why don't I buy your business from you? And I'm like, why in the hell would you want to buy this business from me? I hate this damn thing. Number one, I'm allergic to grass, and I'm mowing lawns and doing landscaping. That's the one thing I knew how to do when I was a teenager, right?
But you got it done.
Yeah, I grabbed a lawnmower and went out and made it work. And, I had a trailer and I had people helping me and all that. I built a serious company, as a teenager.
Yep.
He paid me almost 3 times what I made annually. I couldn't believe it. And that's when the light bulb went off. I'm like, man, all I have to do is build something. And then whenever I'm sick of it, I sell the business. And so I was able to use that money, move it forward to create more wealth, because liquidity leads to wealth.
Exactly.
Okay. Nobody ever got rich off of a paycheck. So paycheck leads to poverty, and liquidity leads to wealth. So as soon as I made that liquidity off of a business that I hated, just a dirty, boring, ugly business, I was able to
cookie cutter, nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing at all. It didn't have, you don't have to build a business that's so unique. You just have to make money. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. And if you build it well enough, it's sellable. And so I took that money, moved it forward into what we call an NLB, the next larger business. And then I just kept doing it and kept doing it. And then eventually somebody said, Chad, you're so good at this. Why don't you help other people do it? So I started helping other people sell their business and getting them ready for a sale. And here we are. Now I'm nationwide. I have 20 locations and we're growing.
What are some simple tips for someone that's got a business that they're kind of burnt out on, that, you know, let's say they're doing $1 million in revenue a year? How does someone approach you and go through the process of, hey, I want to sell my business. I'm not sure if I want to sell it, but, you know, I need to do something else because I'm fucking burning myself out.
All right. So burnout and boredom are the two most dangerous things to a business owner. If you're burned out and you're bored and you're listening to these online clowns that tell you, hey, scale your business. Hey, just pay me 10 grand, pay me 20 grand and scale your business. You don't have the passion anymore. You're burned out and you're bored. So how are you going to scale something you hate? You're not, because you're not aligned with it. And if you're not aligned with it, don't do anything, because alignment is everything. You know, I mean, my dad wanted me to be in construction because he was in construction. I didn't want to be in construction. If I would have been in construction, I would have been terrible at it. You know, if my mom wanted me to be a bank teller, I'd be the worst bank teller ever. I'd piss everybody off at the bank. You know what I mean? I'm just not aligned with it. So when you're not aligned, you're burnt out and you're bored, it's time to sell. It's not time to scale. It's not time to hold on to it.
Not time to revamp.
No, not time to revamp. It's time to let somebody else come in and buy it, because your hell could be another person's heaven. And then you get to restart and go find a new passion and reinvigorate yourself to the next journey. But I would say if you're doing $1 million in revenue, that's a good start. Let's just say you're making 30% of that.
So 300 grand.
Yeah, 300 grand. You're going to be able to sell that business for $800,000 or $900,000. But here's the trick: that $800,000 or $900,000, you can buy an $8 million business with that that'll pay you $2.5, $2.7 million a year.
That's not a bad fucking day.
People don't realize that 10% is all it takes to buy a business.
Because then you can go get traditional funding.
Yeah, the SBA, if you know a guy like me, you can walk right into any of my banks that work with me, put 10% down, and you can own the entire asset, throwing off all that cash flow. So let's just say you've got, in this case, you've got a small business. You're tired of it. You're burned out. You're bored. You just don't have the passion anymore. You're daydreaming about something else. You come to me. I sell it. I help you create liquidity, and liquidity leads to wealth. Liquidity leads to leverage, and leverage leads to wealth. So I walk you into one of my banks, and if I do it, we're going to get up to $5 million within 6 weeks at a bank.
It's not a bad day at all.
Absolutely. So you put 10% down to own 100% of the asset that's producing cash. And then what I tell people is, don't do anything differently. Don't scale it. Don't grow it. Do exactly what that owner was doing, because that's the tried and true method. And people say, well, no, you should grow your business. Well, here's something for thought. If you buy a $5 million business because you have $500,000 in liquidity, so you put the 500 grand down, which is 10% of the business, and you have a $5 million note over 10 years. Every year that you do nothing, absolutely nothing except run the business like that business owner ran it, take 5 million divided by 10. You're paying down essentially $500,000 of debt every year. There's
just
your growth.
Keeping it status quo.
Keeping it steady Eddie. You're growing your wealth just by paying down the debt service.
By doing technically nothing.
Right. Just running the business how the guy ran it. So every year the business is paying off about $500,000 in debt. Run it for 4 years. You've now gained $2 million in liquidity. After 4 or 5 years, if you're not as passionate about it, you've already made the money plus gained the equity. You haven't risked your business in scaling. You're protecting cash flow, because cash flow is king.
And in 4 years, you now have almost $3 million in liquidity because you put up the initial.
Yeah, you put up the 500 grand, and then in 4 years, you've made $2 million just in the equity that's gained. So what people do though, because they just don't know, they have no idea, they're not educated. Where do you learn this stuff? If you go to Harvard, they're not going to teach it to you.
I was just having this conversation with someone yesterday, and it was funny. I was like, so you're going to go to school to learn from a guy that's never done any of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck does that work?
It doesn't.
And then you go on YouTube, and most people, they give you part of the story, but they don't give you the whole formula.
No, because they're all mousetraps.
Yeah.
Hey, pay me $300, pay me $500. I'll turn you into a millionaire, right? Hey, everybody could be a billionaire. Hey, everybody could own this $70 million jet. Just pay me $300. And I don't even need to know who I just am talking about. You already know who I'm talking about without me even telling you his name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what they're doing is they're selling a boulevard of broken dreams. They're getting hundreds of thousands of people to pay them $300 a month. And the knowledge there is what? I mean, you might learn some, right? But
there's so many people in it. There's no one-on-one. Even if you're paying for one-on-one, there's still no one-on-one.
Yeah. There's no one-on-one, and it's part of being part of a club and wearing the T-shirt. You're like, oh, I'm part of this thing.
I like my T-shirt from Target.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right? They just want to wear the T-shirt and say they're part of the club.
Oh, 100%. And
you know?
Guys like you and I do what we want, and we fly the way we want to. And I don't need to be part of a club. I enjoy helping people and teaching them through the process, just like yourself. You wouldn't have gotten into this if you didn't enjoy it. The money's just the fuel that pushes you through. Right. And I can tell you're passionate about doing the mergers and acquisitions and really going to business owners that have no fucking clue of what's going on. Being like, hey, you're burnt out. You're tired. Let's just look at what an exit could be.
Yeah. Let me show you how to create liquidity and move on to your next adventure and reignite that passion. But you know, people, you're right. People don't know how to run a business. They don't know the next step, you know, and where there's no passion, there's no profit. So if you're not passionate, I'm going to see it on your profit and loss statement. And, you know, when it comes to that point where they've built a business and they just don't know what else to do, there's a missing component there. They don't know what to do. So I've gotten into the education space. I'm educating people on how to do deals, on what to do to take that next step to move up. And one of the things that I've been doing lately, a lot of it anyway, for like the past year or so, is helping parents buy their children businesses, because that's the new move. You know, the old move was, hey, go to college, get a degree, go out there and get a job. Your life will be great. And we've got 22, 23-year-old kids just out of college living at mom and dad's house, you know. So smart parents are buying their children businesses now.
And are these self-operating, autonomous, or these guys are going in and having to run it day to day now?
They got to go in there and run it. But that college grad who has no prospects for a job doesn't even know if his degree is going to convert to a good job anyway.
To anything.
Right. He's just a guy with a degree. And how many of those are out there, right?
A lot.
Right. So parents have already spent the money to get him to school. Cat's out of the bag on that. That's not working. You're not going to get anywhere with that. So now parents are putting up 10% down. So let's just say it's a $2 million business. Parents are putting $200,000 up to buy the business, and that $2 million business pays about $700,000 a year. So that's what smart parents are doing.
And you're getting your money back year one.
Absolutely.
Well, not even 4 months in.
Yeah, your first year you're made whole on what you put down and then some. So yeah, but what I'm doing is I'm teaching people how to get that done, because it's not taught anywhere. Deal making is not taught anywhere.
This is all very intriguing to me. Like, where does someone even go to find these business deals? Someone like you? So are you connecting the guy that's got some cash to burn, that wants to buy something, and you know X amount of listings that'll cash flow positive and it's been running with track history and so on and so forth? Or if an investor comes to you, then you guys kind of go out hunting together?
Well, it can work both ways. Right now I have 250 to 300 business owners that contact me a month to sell their business. Now we're nationwide. So 250 to 300 it gets dispersed among my entire staff. And we work on those deals and figure out which businesses are viable to sell and which ones aren't. and we educate a lot of the businesses that aren't ready yet, how to get there, how to get over that
What does not ready yet kind of mean in a 1,000-foot overview?
Bottom line, your business is not ready to sell yet if you're not making enough money.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
That's the
and
simple.
I could give you 45 reasons.
But that's the...
Yeah, you're not making it. The three most important things when it comes down to buying and selling business is, number one, cash flow. And then after that is cash flow. And last but not least, cash flow. So your business is worth a multiplier of what it cash flows. And so if you're not there yet, let's just
What
say
is the multipliers these days?
on cash flow, which again, we were talking earlier before the podcast here. I've got people with MBAs, several people with MBAs that don't know how to tell me what cash flow is. I have to teach them. And so that's why I became an education company.
You say EBITDA and then people really get confused.
Yeah, and businesses are not sold off of EBITDA. People think they are. They're not. They're sold off of cash flow because EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That's only one number. But if you're a small business owner, you're going to be writing things off. You're going to be running the car through there. You might have a wife that has a car too. You're running it through there. You flew to Vegas.
Running that through there.
Yeah, you're running fuel through your car through it. You bought a camera that is not necessarily for the business. This is how it goes. If you're self-employed, you got to play some of that game.
You bought a gun for security.
Absolutely.
The list goes on.
Yeah, whatever. Right. It pays for your gym membership. Right. So we add all that back in, and that's the term cash flow. So if your cash flow isn't there, then you're really not sellable.
And let's say your cash flow's $400,000 a year. What's the typical EBITDA or multiplier these days? 3 to 4?
You're not going to get 4 on $400,000.
Okay.
On $400,000. So imagine it this way. Okay, you've got $400,000 you're making. Mm-hmm. You want to sell that business for a fair price because you want the buyer to be in good hands. I mean,
you don't want them to be leveraged.
Absolutely. So you want to sell it for about 3 times what it's worth. Okay. That's about where it's at right now during this, this administration that we're in right now. Joe Biden and the whole clown show. We're at 11.75% interest rates. So
which is insane.
It's crazy. So if you sell a business for 3 times what it cash flows, the debt service on that is pretty high at 11.75%. So you're not going to get 4 out of it. And really, if you really know how liquidity works, if you're only making $400,000 a year, and now you walk with 1.2, it's not about clubbing the buyer on the way in. It's about taking that 1.2 and making wise moves with it to truly become wealthy after that, because leverage leads to wealth. Liquidity leads to wealth. So it's what you do after the sale.
With that.
Yeah.
Instead of being super greedy up front.
Absolutely. And that right there is the biggest mistake that I see sellers make, because they remember the fights with the wife, the sleepless nights, the blood, sweat, and tears
to get to where they're at.
And I'm like, hey, your business is worth, you're making $400,000, your business is 1.2. Well, my starting price is $6 million. Bro, $400,000 is never going to debt service the number you want.
No.
So that if the math doesn't pencil, I can't help you, man, because they can't think about the next step. They can't think about what can I do with that liquidity to become wealthy. That's just not even a thought of theirs. So that's why I started the education company, where I can start educating people about how this really works. So yes, I sell businesses. I help people buy businesses. I actually have a portfolio myself where I buy businesses for me. Because think about it. I've got 250, 300 businesses that come in a month. I can buy the ones I like.
Yeah. And you get first dibs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we do that too. But I've began educating people, because people come to the table with me with all sorts of assumptions, and they're all wrong.
Oh, you're learning from people that have never done it. The teachers, the friends. Oh, I saw somebody. Dude, I don't tell anyone anything. Like, I keep all my shit pretty close to my vest. And it's like, assume whatever you want to assume. But it's just funny hearing people talk. They're like, oh, works this way. Not quite, Junior.
Yeah. I just talked to a guy. I won't mention his name. I got a lot of respect for him, but I don't want to mention his name. But he's very well known. And I told him some of this stuff, and he said, why would somebody sell their business for 3 times what they're making? And I said, because that's what it's worth. He said, oh, no, I've heard anywhere from 8 to 15 times. I'm like, no, man, it doesn't.
There are those anomalies out there, but it's not.
The only anomaly you're going to get like that is something like a private equity play or going public, something like that, where it's somehow an add-on and it's so unique. But what's the likelihood of you having that?
I know one person out of all the business guys I've hung out with.
And I know one out of tens of thousands, and it was because it was a private equity play. It was an add-on roll up, and they don't really care about the multiple because they care about the overall.
The bigger play.
Yeah, the bigger play. And that's as rare as could be. But if you really are burned out and bored, you don't have the stamina to hold your breath that long to get that kind of.
No, you're going to get murdered.
Absolutely. But, the United States is still the greatest place to build wealth. Everything's tough right now. Uncertainty with the elections. We don't know what's going to go on.
Nobody knows.
Interest rates are high, but the United States is still the best place to build wealth if you know how to do it. And what I find is college grads are part of the market, but even just the baby boomers, they don't really know what to do either. They're confused. They don't have proper guidance. If you go to church, in my opinion, the Christian church has failed. You go there, you go into church and you're reading something, you're listening to something that happened 2,500 years ago. Okay. It doesn't help me now. Right. So you used to be able to go to church, learn from men, learn from women. You were in community. People cared about you. They were in business together. Men, iron sharpening iron with men. Right. It's not happening.
That's going out the window.
Yeah. It's going out the window. So now the pastors, so to speak, are online with baskets saying, hey, pay me. And everybody's being misguided.
Yeah, and it's not just pay me. They expect X, and they do it a couple times just to take, and it's like, I understand. I'm not knocking religion by any means, but what are you doing to help the people?
Yeah, religion's fine, but you're supposed to go there to learn how to perform in this market with other men. That's the premise of it. Iron sharpens iron. Men take care of men. And all I see when I go into church is a bunch of pussies wearing their Sunday's best, listening to something that somebody said 2,400 years ago.
Yeah, and people aren't having conversations like this anymore.
No.
Like, aside from being on a podcast, for me, this is fucking amazing. Like, I love this kind of knowledge because this is my life now. It's business. Mm-hmm. And it's learning things or talking to a friend and be like, oh, you need Chad in your life. I don't need shit out of you two. Just you two need 2 good people. You fuckers figure it out. And it's just a lot of people expect by connecting dots as well in business that they need something. Mm-hmm. I just connect people to connect people.
So what you're doing is you're stopping the monkey see, monkey do. That's what you're doing, because that's what people do. Sally and Billy and Sue invested in a 401k, and I should too. Listen, nobody ever got rich off of a 401k. Nobody ever got rich off of a SEP or an IRA.
Someone I was talking to recently, they're like, I want to build my 401k, and I just shook my head. And they're like, that's not a good idea. I'm like, you can have your 401k, but that's not wealth.
No.
That'll cover your expenses, but fuck, you're in your 20s, bro. Like, it's going to take a while.
Who was 401ks and all the Wall Street backed investments pushed by? The government.
Because that's where they want you to tie up your money.
Absolutely. They want to have your money tied up. And then the government, the government isn't out there teaching people how to be more successfully employed. Successfully self-employed. That's not their thing.
No. And they don't even want you finding the tax breaks.
No.
You got to hire the right people, or, you've learned a lot of shit over the years. And I'm sure some of the businesses you've acquired or helped through sales, you've learned, oh shit, I didn't know this trick, and I'm going to implement this with other people's businesses and my own. Mm. And it's just crazy that everything you've learned, you can't learn in school. You had to learn it by fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And you have your sleepless nights. I'm sure you've been on the 99-yard line and the deal just falls apart. And that's what a lot of people also don't realize. Just because you're cash flowing $5 million a year doesn't mean the sale is going to happen.
Yeah, no, there are no guarantees, but if you get up, you work your ass off, you're using the knowledge to get to where you want to go, and you're being taught by the right people, and you're being guided by ethical people that have integrity, you have a fighting chance.
That's a hard thing to find these
It's a
days.
damn hard thing to
Like
find.
ethical, everybody's open Instagram and you're going to run into 50 ads of different people.
Every
selling.
huckster, every con artist telling you, pay me money and I'll help you become wealthy. I haven't seen one of them that works.
No, and I haven't seen any that actually have ran a real business, an actual positive cash flow business with being truly transparent on what they're showing.
Yeah, most influencers make money off of influencing, not a real business.
Yeah, and like when you walked in, you're like, oh, you've built a hell of a following. To me, the following is just testament to my networking abilities. Tapping into different markets to grow something. I'm a business guy at the end of the day. I took a small business and grew it quite large and went to 33 states. Like, that's networking. I can't fucking do everybody's job in every state. Like, I had to delegate, I had to learn, I had to give things away that, you know, I didn't want to give away in order for it to grow. And
Yeah, but think of the value you're providing, you know, because if you do it ethically and you're like, hey, I know this guy Chad, hey, you need to meet him, right? Now I'm able to help somebody's life in an ethical manner. That way they don't go down the path of failure. And that's really what is happening to a lot of people, and they give up.
oh yeah, like I have one friend that's doing, I think he told me like $500,000 in his business a year. He's like, Brian, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get to the next level. I'm like, and I looked at his business really quick and I was like, dude, why aren't you running Facebook ads? Like, you're selling a product and it's a great product. Oh, let me introduce you to my ads guy. Well, what do you want for it? You two make money. I don't give a shit. You give him, you know, my discounted rate and you two have fun. And I checked in with the guy yesterday and he's like, oh, he wants $2,000 up front. And then I got to put up $3,000 a month in ad spend. I'm like, but you want to get to the next level.
You got to spend to win, man. You got to spend to win.
My ads guy, once he locks in, he fucking hits out of the park every time. And I'm like, dude, you're going to suck for 2 months and you're going to make it back by month 3.
Yeah. So what happens whenever people get to this spot where they made some money, they don't remember that all the effort that it took to get them there and the spend that got them there, it has to keep going. Right. So
Yeah, you can't just choke up and be like, oh, I'm done spending. It's like you have to reinvest into the business. And the way I look at it is, as long as you have the right ads person, even month 1, you should just break even on acquisition costs and everything. And my ads guy's like, oh, well, we got to find a product that's like minimum $70. I'm like, well, just do a fucking bundle and play and call it a day.
yeah, I've spent over $200,000 on spending, you know, to win this year.
Then we're halfway through the year-ish.
Yeah,
More.
I've spent $200,000. So, yeah, if you want to win, you got to spend. And
Well, even you sitting down right now, you're taking time away from everything else just to get your message out there. And really, you know, you're enlightening me on everything you're saying, because this is a lot of the shit that I knew, but I didn't really know.
right, it's because we're too busy running our business, right? Too busy doing the day to day, the mundane. We're not getting our head out of the sand and saying, hey, who could I call to help me to get to the next level? And I literally take ordinary business owners and turn them into extraordinary wealth earners. That's what I do, right? So you're making 300-400 grand. I put you into something that's making you $2.5 million a year. And I can do it this year, not one day.
No, which is fucking phenomenal. Like, I have other friends that are, you know, they're cash flowing like $2 million a year. I'm like, well, multiplier I've had in my head is somewhere between 3 and 6. So I'm like, I don't know, figure it out from there. That's what I've heard from other people. And
3 times cash flow. But if you talk about the 5 and 6 number, that could be 5 times EBITDA.
okay,
And they're about the same in a lot of cases. So EBITDA is before you do all the adjustments for the ad backs.
Right.
So it could be, yeah, you could sell your business for 5 times. And that's a big misunderstanding in the market. Oh, I've heard 5 times. Well, you're not entirely wrong. 5 times EBITDA. But your business is really going to be worth 3 times cash flow. And cash flow could be more because you're accounting for the ad backs. But if you went off of EBITDA only, could be 5 times.
okay.
Same. It's the same thing.
Still $6 million cash in hand.
Yeah. And what can you do with $6 million? And what are you going to do? And this is what I tell people. If you have $6 million come at you, you have a money problem now. And people don't know what to do with their money either. But once you have $6 million, everybody has their hands out. But you got a money problem. The financial planners, they want to put it in Wall Street. Okay. And then they'll tell you, well, I know we just had a massive drop in the market, but keep your money there. Why do they say that? Because that's how they make their money.
Mm-hmm.
So you got $6 million. What are you going to do with it? You're going to put it in crypto. You're going to put it underneath your mattress. You're going to put it in a bank account. You're going to give it to a financial planner to.
My fail-safe is hard money lending at like 13.
Well, there you go. There you go. You're making pretty good money there. Being an investor, making a good return on it. Sure. Great. But what I'm saying is people don't also, they don't
even know about that.
They don't know what, no, they don't know what to do. Sometimes I'll sell a business that I put $6, $7, $8 million in somebody's pocket. They don't know what to do. And what I show them how to do is move on to the NLB, the next larger business, or sometimes the next smaller business. In other words, if you don't want a bigger business to run, you can downsize. I mean, like you did. I mean, you had a big business.
Yep. And I downsized.
You downsized.
I did not want to manage that many people anymore. Like, and people don't understand, like, I don't care how much money you're making. It's a lot.
Yeah. And if you're making more money, it's a little easier to get through that stuff. But if you're working your ass off and there's not enough money for it, you start to lose steam.
Oh, I was punching.
Too, and having to fight through it to win.
And making sacrifices on the personal side and all that other fun stuff. Like, cost me a marriage.
Okay, so it cost you a marriage, but did it really? Or did she just not, was she not understanding you well enough and what this game was about?
The latter.
Exactly. Because I tell this to women, if you're going to be with a high performance man, if you're going to be with a guy who's not making, 60 grand a year and being home by 5 so he can have dinner with you. Okay. If you're dating a man who's out there killing it, trying to make millions of dollars a year, you're going to have to adjust to him, and don't blame the divorce on his drive and his determination. That's who you married. That's what you were attracted to.
Oh, yeah.
And now you want him to be something different.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, be home more, be this, be more present." I'm like,
brother, I've been through it, man.
Which one do you want?
Man, I've been through it. I was married one time. I had about a year and a half stint in marriage, and she kept telling me, "Hey, when are you going to be home? When are you going to be home? When are you going to be home?" And I finally just got to the point, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to tell you exactly when I'll be home. Whenever you see me walk through that front door is when I'm going to be home. Don't ask me again."
Sounds it.
And it was just, that was the beginning of the end. I was not going to be told that I need to be home to stare at her and have dinner. Come on, man. I've got things to do. And I think a smart woman is going to encourage her man to work, to earn, to take care of her.
100%.
And so whenever I hear people say that, like, "Oh, I lost a marriage to working hard," I said, "No, man, you lost the wrong woman."
It's a very good way to put it.
Yeah.
And you grew up in a broken home. I grew up in a broken home. So, I have kids with her. I'm just like, fuck. Everything I didn't want ended up happening. And I'm like, well, when you put it this way, though, you can still co-parent with the person and do everything and just focus on what you really want and really build towards that.
And don't realize that the bullshit that you put up with at work is 10 times whatever bullshit that she, that she thinks it is. And then you come home and she wants to give you more bullshit on the personal end, and you've got no way out.
None.
Right. And that is a hard spot for a man. And the best remedy for that is divorce. Hey, let's split. You move on and you go be happy. I go on and I be happy. And, you mentioned being, a single dad, and, you got a broken home and all that. You feel like you're reliving that. It feels like a real deep emotional failure because it's like not what you wanted. But I would say this, back when you and I were young, broken homes were not the norm.
Not the norm. Not like it is today.
Now it's just, you're like everybody else now.
Yeah.
It's just the norm.
It's the norm. It's a little awkward for me because I have another kid due with her any day.
You have a what?
Another kid due any day.
With another woman?
No, with the same.
What would you go over there and hit it, brother, one day, or what?
We just, shit happened, and then we split shortly after.
Oh, okay. So you're in the thick of it right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's a tough go.
So yeah, my daughter's great. She's 3. That's an easy one. But newborn doing the co-parenting, that'll be phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it'll be a ride, man. It'll be a ride.
But that's what people don't look at in businesses. Your home partner's essentially your business partner.
Yeah. But they either got to be supporting you or they got to get out of your way.
And, now that I've had time to really sit and think, like, my head hasn't been clearer than it's been right now in a long time.
Really, even though the baby's on the way
Even
and all
though the
that?
baby's on the way, like, dude, my creative is just going, going, going. Wanting to do as many podcasts as I can now, just networking with people. I'm back to the old me feeling alive. And it's like, yeah, I got a kid due. Okay.
Man, I turned into a fucking animal after I went through my divorce. Like, I was so ready for more success. I was ready for more focus, more dedication to what I was doing. I had more reason. I was like, okay, I don't have to put up with you anymore. I can go put my focus into this. And, a lot of women would say, oh, listen to him talking about how he, hey, man, this is what I want to do. I want to work. I fly on airplanes to live in hotels to be on this show. And I don't need somebody telling me that I'm not meeting their needs. And if I'm not meeting your needs, I really am sorry about that I'm not meeting your needs.
And you're
So
cross country. So for you, you're picking up and going daily.
yeah, absolutely. Picking up, going.
Someone will call you at midnight and be like, hey, I need you here tomorrow. All right, let me figure out if I can find a fucking flight real quick.
Absolutely.
And that's what partners and other friends don't understand. Oh, why are you always on the move? That's what it takes. Why are you always on your phone? That's what it takes. Like, oh, I sent you a message on Instagram. I'm like, I don't have Instagram with me today.
Mm-hmm.
It's on a separate phone. That's just a time suck. I have a team that manages. I get to it when I get to it.
Yeah, me too.
If you're important in my life, text me. If you
Yeah.
don't have my number, sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had an aunt of mine who I don't really talk to that much. She's like, I've been trying to reach you on Instagram. I'm like, well, you should probably have my number. And if you don't have my number, like you said, then it's going to be hard to get a hold of me. Yeah,
And that's,
for sure.
and I'm sure the more successful you've gotten, access has been more limited.
Yes.
You're not going to waste your time on just bullshit. Now, you
Yeah.
still hang out with your friends, shoot the shit, do whatever, but it's not the same as, a 2-hour conversation just because.
Well, and for sure, but and also, as I meet new friends that are more aligned with what it is that I'm doing, then my old friends who are still stuck in doing old things that I don't really want to do anymore, they're limited, they're in contraction, they're not expansive, they're not trying to do better, they're not trying to get bigger, they're not hustling to get to that next level. We have less in common. So the more people that I meet along this journey, I get closer to them because we're aligned in our vision.
Oh, yeah. I even have some friends from childhood. One called me the other day. He's like, I got sued by my nanny. I'm like, pay it out. He's like, no, fuck that. It's war. Pay it out.
Sued for what?
Workman's comp or something.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
frivolous.
The attorneys will win. He'll lose.
He'll lose.
She'll win too.
Yeah. And I'm like, just pay it out. He's like, no, I'm not paying them 20 grand. I'm like, you know what it's going to cost you in legal fees?
It's going to cost you at least half that, if not more.
Yeah. And
So now it's going to cost him 30 or 35.
I know what he's worth. And I'm like, dude, just pay it out. Stop being
Right.
stubborn.
Write a check.
And it's, I love the guy, but more and more time passes, I just slowly separate from that type of energy now.
There you go.
Just,
Yeah.
dude, money comes and goes.
Mhm.
You've been at the top of the world, you've been at the bottom of the world.
Yep.
We've all been there. And it's just continue that movement.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that the quicker that you can get rid of things that are hanging on to you, the less weight you have on you, the further, faster you can travel to get where you're wanting. People live in the past too much. What happened to them? What's going on with them? Just get rid of that so you can keep moving forward. That's what I say.
And that doesn't just affect your personal life, it's business and everything. Even I'm sure you've gone to some businesses and you're like, why are you keeping that employee? And a mentor told me a long time ago, slow to hire, quick to fire.
Absolutely.
If you are feeling it, fucking be done with it.
Slow to hire, quick to fire. No doubt about it.
And that told me that 2007. And it's stuck with me ever since. And
Actually, that's funny you say that. I learned that in around 2007 from a guy who told me that. Slow to hire, quick to fire.
Yeah, and I was bitching one day about like how much was going on at work, and he just stopped and looked at me and goes, "Brian, you want an easy life?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Go get a job." I said, "Fuck you."
Right.
I was like,
Right.
"Thanks for the wisdom, Dan. Like, appreciate you, but no."
I'd rather work 80 hours for myself and get bloody and, get busted up than go work 40 hours for somebody else.
And that's what people don't understand. They're like, "Oh my God, it's the weekend." Well, technically, every day is the weekend if you build the life you want.
Hell yeah. I built a life I don't need to escape from.
Yeah.
So if I want to take Monday off, which by the way, today is Monday.
Monday.
So I'm here with you. This isn't work to me. I'm having a good time with you.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
loving what I'm doing.
This
right?
is, and this doesn't work for me either. This is fun, and it's a Monday. My phone's on silent. Whoever fucking calls, well, deal with it after.
Yeah, me too.
And that's the life we've built.
Right.
And just people don't understand. But then we take phone calls at 11 o'clock at night, and it might run till 1, 2 in the morning. That's the price we've paid to live the life we
And
want.
that's okay with me. I enjoy it.
I am perfectly content with that. And it's just, some people are like, "Oh, you're doing manual labor in 100-degree heat." Fortunately, no one else can do it. I got to go do it. Let's go.
Yeah, I think what happens is people don't want to get to where you and I are at because they're fearful. They don't want to make a wrong move, and they're institutionalized by what school systems.
That's a funny topic.
Just the I don't know, the general cultural education that's given to us, whether it's pushed by the government and their agenda, or it's pushed by the school system, or perhaps even the churches and what they think. Everybody's just sheep. They're just going along to get along. It's like, look, the best way to make a life well lived is to do what you want to do and to control your time and to be on your schedule and to make so much money that you're not at anybody's beck and call. You can make your own choices. That's what it's all about.
Which is amazing. And, funny you mentioned school. I have a 3-year-old. So, me and her mom were discussing, well, what do we do for school? I'm like, well, fuck, I hated school. Despised it, even though I have a really high degree. I'm like,
brother, I hated school so bad. You and I are so.
I'm like, you know what? We're putting her in a pod, and then we can control what she's learning, what she's doing. And she's 3. Okay, she's learned her ABC. She can count to 50, but most of her day is arts and crafts. We got a bounce house obstacle course that she's like crawling through and jumping over every day. And she's getting dirty. She's coming home fucking filthy, but she's playing. She's being a kid. She's learning.
Oh man.
She's like, "Daddy, I got a pet snail. Can we go get the terrarium?" I'm like, "Sure." And then taking it to breakfast with us. I'm like, "There's this fucking snail at my breakfast table." Whatever.
Cool.
And it's just, it's fun to see versus the traditional school. Schools and jails look pretty identical.
They do. The lunch trays, the tables, the quality of food,
The lighting.
the bells that take you from class to class. What's that from? That's from the Industrial Revolution. That's whenever we started having factories. It's not changed since.
Nope.
So school systems take ordinary, what people would be ordinarily smart people and dumb them down.
Yep. And it's, people are like, "Oh my God, your kid's so smart." I'm like, no, she's just not caged.
It's intelligence castration. They take an intelligent person and now they tell them to get in line and to assimilate and to agree because they need you under their control.
100%.
And what are they teaching? They're not teaching things that are relevant in today's world.
What we've talked about in the last 45 minutes isn't taught anywhere.
No,
Nowhere.
nowhere.
In your book, but people have to know who Chad is and find the book. Luckily with my platform, it gets more reach. And even if 5 people find you now, and those 5 people now learn from you, and those 5 people tell another 5 people. But in school, what the fuck did you learn at school that you wanted to tell any 5 people?
Well, yeah, you learn equations, you learn what dates war started and when they ended and whatever.
I got Google.
Jesus, right? So there you go. So school systems used to be able to monetize knowledge and sort of I don't know, keep it insulated from everybody, and that way they had a commodity that you had to pay for. Well, what is a school really going to teach you nowadays? Social skills? Social skills are hard to come by nowadays too. Go out to dinner. You go to dinner, you see everybody watching.
Everybody's on their phone.
On their phone. And then I get bullshit.
At any restaurant.
At any restaurant. Yes.
Like even the Highline stuff that you and I go to.
Absolutely. Like. And then I hear these bullshit excuses from people that work for me or even sometimes client. Oh, I'm spending time with the family. I don't see it anywhere. I see families going out and I see the husband on the phone, the wife on the phone, the kids running around. They have their phones. I don't see it. So I know whenever somebody's telling me, oh, I've been busy with the family, probably not. It's just you're living in excuses. You want to tell me you're busy with the family because it's a damn good excuse.
It's a good one.
It's probably just not real.
No, and you know, for me, since I'm limited on time, when I have my kid, I do my best to not be on the phone.
Sure.
And, you know, they're like, well, why don't you answer your phone? I'm like, dude, it's the only time I got with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, why do you co-sleep with your kid? I want to maximize every minute.
Absolutely.
I like that monkey sleeping on top of my head.
Hey, man, there's a time and a place for
that.
that.
And they're like, sure. I'm like, this isn't going to last forever. I can't buy this time back.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, that's not normal. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Not normal to you.
I was watching a movie with my son and he's on his phone and I'm just looking at him. And I keep looking at him. He finally feels me looking at him. And I'm like, hey, we're going to watch this movie. You're going to be on your phone. He's like, all right. Puts his phone down. But that's what it's come to now. You know, phones are dominating our lives. And you know what's the number one searched thing on the internet still? Porn. People have these phones where you can learn everything you need, how to become wealthy, how to become healthy.
This is why the porn industry is so big.
It's like, but people, it just goes to show that knowledge is not everything.
No, and it's
focused. It's focused to what you're learning.
Yeah.
You know?
And looking at certain people's feeds and timelines, it's like just interesting to see, like, what the fuck are you doing with that time?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you spend the time finding the right people to help you and you want to make the calls, you want to get out there and find that guy online who's doing something and learn from him, get closer to him, make the phone call, make the introduction, get on his podcast. You can use these phones for good reason, but most people
do not.
They're getting fat and lazy and surfing the internet and searching the wrong things. They're not getting anywhere with it.
No, and now with the internet, you can, before it used to be several touches to get to the person you want. Shoot your fucking shot in the DM and hope they answer.
Mm-hmm.
You have no excuse now, though.
Right. Yeah, you can get a hold of people now.
And that's just the funny part. Like, there's no more excuses on any level. Just get it done.
Right now is the easiest time in history to be successful because nobody else really is doing it. I mean, no offense to California, but I mean, and same thing with where I come from, Arizona. I mean, I flew in. I mean, you got guys that have they're wearing sweatpants. I don't know what grown man wears sweatpants when, you know, what the hell?
I wear them at night sometimes.
Well, yeah, at night, sure, but out on the plane wearing a holy t-shirt and sweat. I mean, the culture, our culture has been lost. I mean, professionalism, people that are sharp and that want to go out there and hustle, it's gone. So listen, it's the easiest time in history to be successful because nobody else is doing it. Like, show up on time, look good, present well, have a message, be driven. Nobody else is doing it. It's the easiest time ever to win right now.
Oh, I'm always 5 to 10 minutes early to everything. And everybody's like, why is that? I'm like, that's just me. Like, you can be late, but I got to be early.
On time is late.
Yep.
Yeah, 10 minutes early is where you should be.
And people are like, just, why do you always have to be the first one? I'm like, you told me to be there at a certain time. I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And just people no longer have that concept or those values.
Yeah, and so America is this great place to be successful. It always has been. That's why we've been a leader of the world. But now, I don't know when it happened, man. Maybe the past, is it 4 years? Is it 5 years? How long has it been since people got sloppy? I mean, men are pussies anymore. They don't want to go out there.
COVID made it worse by a landslide.
COVID made it worse.
And then I also feel like social media made it worse. Like, it's a great tool to connect you and I, but we're using it as a tool. Mm-hmm. Like you just said, everybody else is just filtering in bullshit.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, maybe the last decade, you've just seen it slide.
I just don't know when it really happened. I don't know the time frame. I want to say 97, 98 is whenever it started to slide.
I was too young at that time.
Maybe 01 with 9/11. I don't know.
I feel like 9/11 kind of gave some dudes their balls back, just because everybody wanted to fight for America and everything that had gone on. But then shortly after, it started to slide again.
Yeah, I think American pride went up at that point. But now we're just sloppy as hell. So, like I said, I mean, I can complain about it, but the good side of it is there's less competition, man. I'm out there doing what I'm doing because nobody else is out there doing what I'm doing, and it's easier to win nowadays.
I like it. As we wrap up, any words of wisdom you want to give to the listeners that they should be doing?
Yeah, I would tell parents that are having their kids. I guess the failures to launch, they've gone to college or they haven't gone to college, find them a business. Find them a business that is making a couple $100,000 a year. Invest 10% in order to buy that business for them. Help them become self-employed. Also, if you're self-employed, every year you got to do your taxes. So every year you do your taxes, send your tax returns to a good broker. They can contact petersonacquisitions.com. We'll look at your taxes. We'll tell you exactly what your business is worth. And that way you know how much liquidity you could create. And then we can show you what to do with that liquidity to get into wealth, time, and freedom, because that's what it's all about. And then another piece of advice I would give them is learn how to do deal making. Learn how businesses are bought and sold. And we teach that. I teach that personally. So if you want to learn how to buy a business, you want to learn how to sell your business, you want to move up to your next adventure, contact petersonacquisitions.com.
And where's the best place for people to find you? Peterson.
Find me on Instagram at @realchadpeterson, or you can find me at petersonacquisitions.com or chadpeterson.com. And like I said, we're teaching people how to buy businesses, teaching people how to sell businesses, because if you don't have the knowledge, you're never going to get it done. So we're teaching now. We're doing the transactions, but we're teaching those who don't really know how to do it, because it's a total paradigm shift where you don't know what to do to now you're fully armed with all the information to be effective in going and creating wealth, time, and freedom, and getting to that self-employed spot you always dreamed of. We're helping people do that.
No, and you've unloaded a plethora of knowledge on me today. I appreciate you coming out and taking the time to get on here, bud.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.